The concerns raised prior to the 2016 election, when the Labor Party announced its decision to remove negative gearing benefits for all but investors in newly built property, highlighted just how fickle the property investing public can be. The inquiry rate for Destiny Services is a pretty good barometer for current investor sentiment, and from the time the decision was announced until the Liberal Party claimed victory, they slowed right down. This was despite no mention of how the policy would look if invoked, with apparently even Labor Party members not really understanding what negative gearing was or how it would work if removed. My own analysis showed that for those investing in property with strong yields, with a consideration still given to growth, the bottom line wouldn't be as dramatic as they imagined. Removing the ability to claim a loss doesn't actually have that great an effect if the property that you own has little in the way of actual loss. And for those properties which do have a small loss upon purchase, most people find that within a few years this changes as rents rise with inflation and demand. Covering what can be, say, $50 a week negative isn't ideal, but it's not a deal breaker when it comes to buying property. Yet the news brought constant dread that all claims would be removed and that property investors would be taxed upon the rent but not be allowed to claim interest and other expenses. Now, as far as I can tell, this would never have been the intention, and expenses up until they exceeded income would still apply to be allowed to be claimed against that income. What would have changed would have been the ability to claim any excess loss against other income, such as that earned from your job. While not ideal, most people could still continue to buy under these circumstances, having to commit a small amount to the portfolio for the first few years until rents could increase enough to exceed those expenses. It brings into stark reality the fact that most property investors really aren't as savvy or sophisticated as the average share investor, yet they should be. Regardless of the asset class, there's simply no good end to starting a portfolio without first knowing what you're doing. Where property is concerned, lack of suitable and appropriate knowledge becomes dangerous and is perhaps the key reason why so many property investors fail in their endeavour to create a sizable retirement income and finish their working life financially secure. The emotions which kept people out of the market during the uncertain times which marked this election campaign are the very same ones which drive people to buy property without considering the economic drivers which will make it outperform other investment vehicles. An emotional buy results in the purchase of property that may look great and exist in an enviable area, rather than purchasing that which exists in an economically strong and diverse area with an abundance of growth drivers. The former will be expensive and likely to have low yields, which even if the underlying asset does grow, will make it a costly asset to hold. The latter will result in an asset which grows well over time and returns a sound rental income, allowing the buyer to hold for the long term. When all's said and done, short-term worries about the removal of negative gearing, any other potential policy change, or even talk of a bubble shouldn't affect the savvy property investors' plans in any way. When you choose an asset with underlying value, which exists in an area with strong fundamentals, it will perform well for you despite any kind of tax breaks that you can get or benefits that you could lose. Knowledge is power, and this adage is no more true than it is with a growing property investment portfolio.